Oh!
What is going on out there, peeps? Man, what happened? I guess the Republicans woke up, the people from the right woke up, and they all got big balls now? I think the people are starting to wake up to realize that Trump is actually there for them, and they're starting to fight back. Let's go and take a look at what's going on.
It's been day 5, and I have not received no food stamps. My disability checks is on hold. My cash benefits is not coming no more. They're still pending. It is the taxpayer's job to pay for my kids to eat and for my kids to be taken care of. I have over 2,000 followers on TikTok, and I can't get not one person to send me 50 cents. If you're watching this fucking video and you can't send me nothing, I'm blocking you. I'm fucking blocking you. 50 cents. My kids have not ate in 5 days. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of my kids. Yo, I just seen a video, and that's exactly what the fucking lady was saying, bro. I'm fucking dead. Bitch, it's called get a job, ho.
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year, and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war, I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class, and you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at 0. Fentanyl is at record lows for the last 10 years. We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this country since January 21st. So they have already worked. Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is here. About Canada, a lot of people are asking, why Canada? We love Canada. Canada are our friends. Why wage this tariff war on Canada? And of course, the answer is simple. Canada and Mexico are the back door to the American economy because we have this trade deal with them, the USMCA. If Canada and Mexico do not match our tariffs on China, China simply builds car manufacturing plants in Canada and in Mexico, which they have already done, and they use that in order to get tariff-free cars into the American market, which is exactly what President Trump is trying to get away from. So what he wants from them is for them to close that back door.
Because I know they're going to come for me. But Justice Donahue, Democrat, Justice Doherty, Democrat, and Justice Wecht, Democrat, I am asking you to vote no to retention this November. And if you vote no, and we get a majority no Commonwealth-wide, you will wipe 3 Democrats off the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania with one single election. 1. Why is this so important? In the Commonwealth's history, there's only been one judge, one ever in 2005 that was not retained. Do you know why? And it makes me lose a little bit of faith for our political party system because Republicans and Democrats have had a deal since the 1900s that they said, you know what, Democrats, Republicans, I won't go after your judges if you don't go after our judges. A lot of people are not happy that we're doing this no to retention campaign, but here is our motto, and here's what I want you to think about. We are going to shake up the system. We are going to break the status quo. And here is the motto: disrupt the status quo, vote no. Disrupt the status quo, vote no.
Did you see the latest Roseanne Barr podcast? Some really interesting things being discussed. The story goes, Serbian hackers backed by Chinese military intel had the means to flip an election. They were in place, ready, election night, but they got neutralized, and no one's telling you how. Not yet. But one day they will, and when they do, it'll sound like a movie, because it was a movie. Kamala Harris thought she had it in the bag. The polls told her one thing. The machine told her it was handled. But when it didn't go their way, she looked stunned. That's the moment the script broke. This hasn't been left versus right for a long time. That's the illusion. The real psyop, convincing the public that we're a 50-50 nation. So when they tell you who won by a hair, you accept it. You think, well, it was close. But what if it wasn't? What if we're actually a 70-30 country? What if most Americans are wide awake or waking up fast? Democrat popularity is at 21%. That's not a governing majority. That's a collapsing narrative, and the machine knows it. That's why they lie. That's why they divide. Because if we ever realize we are the majority, game over. And when I say majority, I'm not talking Republican versus Democrat. I'm talking us, the American people, versus the machine.
Leave your fobs at your front door because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else.
If somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. We have a gun safety class we put on every other Saturday, and if you take that, you'll shoot a lot better, and hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
In a show of spiritual force, hundreds of Christians and their allies went scorched earth on Mayor Bruce Harrell outside Seattle City Hall.
It's time for the mayor to resign!
Pastor Russell Johnson led the charge, demanding an apology or a resignation from Harrell after he labeled their peaceful concert at Cal Anderson Park over the weekend an extreme right-wing rally. Then victim blamed the evangelicals for Antifa chaos and violence, implying they had it coming to them.
Assemblymember DeMaio, you were recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to AB 930. It does not modernize the way people vote. It adds the ability for non-citizens to serve as recount board members. I'm not sure why a non-citizen should have any business serving on a board overseeing a U.S. election. That's not how people vote in America. I don't know where you hang out, but it's not where people vote, how most people vote that I talk to on both sides of the aisle.
Mr. DeMaio, just a moment. Mr. Berman, state your point of order, please.
I'd ask my colleague from San Diego not to hurl insults at fellow assembly members on the assembly floor.
Excuse me, Mr. DeMaio. Mr. Berman, your point is well taken. Mr. DeMaio, please use decorum.
I think most Californians would wonder how it can be a modern election if non-citizens are serving on an election board overseeing the election. That's not an insult. That's common sense. I think it would be insulting to suggest that Californians wouldn't have grave concerns about that. And perhaps that's why we see so many election-related measures passed by this body that are unhinged from popular points of view in this state. But secondly, this bill also extends the amount of time for ballots to be returned in an election. We already are the laughing stock of the world when it comes to counting ballots. Most third world countries have something called an election day, not an election month. We're actually on track to having an election quarter here in California because our elections actually start 30 days prior to election day through mail-in ballots. So a month out, people can vote. And then, of course, they are able to count ballots for 30 days after an election. That's a 60-day period. What this bill would do is it would allow ballots to be returned up to 7 days after Election Day. That only sows the seeds of doubt It undermines public trust and confidence in our democracy when ballots mysteriously appear after Election Day. So I urge this body, let's put the health of our democracy first. Let's do everything we can to restore public trust and confidence in our democracy. This is not the way to do it. I urge a no vote on AB 930.
You call it clickbait, but people are listening, Elon. You're laying off thousands while buying billion-dollar social platforms, flying rockets, and tweeting memes about woke mind virus. How can you preach responsibility when your actions look like ego-driven chaos to the rest of the world?
Ego-driven chaos? Don, I've created tens of thousands of jobs, launched rockets, revolutionized electric cars, and made spaceflight reusable, all while you read headlines off a teleprompter. If that's chaos, maybe we need more of it. I build the future, you just react to it. Usually late and wrong.
Is that your way of saying that you felt the left did that to us, that they just disregarded black folks?
Stephen A., they've been giving us the middle finger since I can remember. All the way back from the Ku Klux Klan. They have never supported black people whatsoever. They hoodwinked us into getting us on food stamps and getting us with government assistance, having us to abandon our own success. We had our own bus line. We had our own schools. We had all this stuff. They tricked us into believing that the white man was the cure to our own issues.
Okay.
They tricked us. And then now look at us, Stephen A. They don't have to bid for our vote. They got our vote hook, line, and sinker.
Well,
so they're never going to do nothing for us.
That part I get. But when you say they did nothing, I'm thinking about civil rights legislation. I'm thinking about infrastructure. I'm thinking about Jim Crow laws, the eradication of it. I'm thinking about the access to capital that
Stephen
was
A.
given that black folks had dated from the 60s and beyond that we didn't have before that. Are you saying that's the Republicans?
That's Republican, unanimous Republican votes for the civil rights. The Democrats filibustered the Civil Rights Act, the longest filibuster in history until Booker just did what he did. Mm-hmm. But the Democrats were not in support of that. That was the Republican Party that was in support of that. And then let's go down the list. If these things were benefiting black people, why are we still complaining today? We've been voting for Democrats for, 40, 50 years now, lockstep, and we still complaining. We still don't have the rights that we want. We still don't have equality in America. Racism is still plaguing our community, according to black people. So what have they been doing this whole time? And when you look at it, they have just secured our vote, and they don't have to do nothing for us. And this is what we've created, Stephen A. Mm-hmm. We've created an environment where we don't benefit from none of it because the Democrats don't have to work because they know I already got us. The Republicans don't need to work because they can win without us.
Y'all reached a verdict?
We have.
All right. You have the verdict form with you?
I do.
Can you hand that to the bailiff, please?
I will.
Ask the clerk to publish a verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 14th Judicial Circuit in Fort Bay County, Florida, case number 22608CA, Zachary Young Plaintiff versus Cable News Network, Inc. Defendant. Verdict form number 1. Do you find by the greater weight of the evidence that defendant CNN committed defamation per se against plaintiff Zachary Young? Yes. Number 2, do you find by the greater weight of the evidence that defendant CNN committed defamation by implication against plaintiff Zachary Young? Yes. Number 3, what is the total amount of plaintiff Zachary Young's damages for both lost earnings in the past and for the loss of his earning capacity in the future, reduced by the amount that plaintiff could have earned from comparable employment? $4 million. Number 4, what is the total amount of plaintiff Zachary Young's damages for pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, injury to reputation, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life that he sustained in the past and that he has sustained for the future? $1 million. Number 5, do you find by clear and convincing evidence that punitive damages are warranted against defendant CNN? Yes. Date, January 17, 2025, signed by the foreperson.
Okay, yeah.
every single financial disclosure to New York State as far back as 2019 contains false information with her signature on it. Every single mortgage on her property in Brooklyn from when she purchased it contains false information. The Virginia property, which she claims like the power of attorney that she signed was a mistake, whatever, implicates her. Okay. The situation that she has is she put pen to paper. I didn't. Donald Trump didn't. MAGA didn't do it. You didn't do it. She owns this fraud. She did it.
This is the financial system of the future, Jesse, and we have to encourage it. What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the auto pen during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community. She wants to drive this community offshore. She doesn't want it happening in the United States. That's the wrong policy for the United States. We want all the innovation happening here. This is a financial system of the future. It's cheaper. It's more efficient. We want it happening here, Jesse, and I think people are thrilled that President Trump is making that possible.
After this CNN reporter repeatedly called him racist, this comedian stepped in and explained himself in the best way possible.
Because it's clear that you were visibly upset defending this country.
This ain't Mexico. It used to be Mexico, mother. And now it's Phoenix, goddammit.
If a person starts their heckling with F America, all of this is still Mexico. That gives me the right to defend my country.
Do you not apologize for anything?
I don't think I need to apologize for being pro-American. When I was just giving him geography, this is America.
Do you understand why people who do hear it maybe do get offended?
If you don't like me, don't come see me. If you do like me, I'm here for you.
Any concern how this could impact
None,
your
sir.
career down the road? People
None.
might not want to book you in Texas or Arizona or California.
Sir. Let's let that happen.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me. He said, you got the hottest we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever, and they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me, that's the nastiest.
Unrest is growing in China. Fresh protests have broken out in major cities with hundreds rallying, chanting, "We want freedom."
Deserted shopping malls, half-empty apartment complexes, abandoned construction sites. These are all signs of the crisis that has gripped China's property market.
This is really the big concern throughout all of the kind of crackdown, is whether or not we're going to see financial instability.
If China's economy stumbles, the global implications will be far-reaching. The way the world deals with Beijing may be in for a lot of rethinking.
Have some courage for once. Apologize for all of your fake news at CNN that has led to this attempted assassination of President Trump, Jake. Shameful behavior from CNN. You guys have blood on your hands. You have blood on your hands, Jake. When are you going to apologize to the American people for lying about President Trump for years? When are you going to call out Joe Biden for saying that it's time to put President Trump in a bullseye? Come on, you're always talking so much shit.
I could code talk to white guys watching football fixing their truck.
First of all, we don't speak in code. You know, we're not aliens. Second of all, I might recommend to the governor that if your first move at a political event is to go right to the jazz hands, maybe you're not speaking the correct language, that you think you're speaking, perhaps a different dialect, but this was maybe the dumbest analysis of the 2024 election I'd ever seen. I mean, we know why he was chosen, because she couldn't pick the correct choice because he was Jewish. Let's be honest, she should have picked the governor of Pennsylvania, and her party wouldn't let her do it. So she ends up picking this camouflage hat-wearing buffoon that comes from your state, who I am convinced actually cost her votes, but I am more than glad was on the ticket so that J.D. Vance could kick his ass at the debate.
All right, so I'm out here in Hawaii, and I'm reporting on another complete scandal that FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are right at the center of. Behind me here, you can see these tiny homes that were built by and paid for by FEMA to provide temporary housing to Lahaina fire victims. But you won't believe the cost. Each one of these tiny homes is only about 490 square feet, and they're about as basic as they get. But each one of these cost over $826,000 per unit, which is over $1,600 per square foot. This is a total ripoff, and the U.S. taxpayer is paying for it.
Julie, we told you last week how the federal raid of a St. Paul nonprofit signaled that the U.S. Attorney's Office is not done charging new suspects in this case. Today they said that as soon as news of that raid broke, Hebo Dar booked an urgent international flight.
Hebo Dar is now the 71st person to be charged in the $250 million Feeding Our Future pandemic meal fraud case. Court records show she claimed to serve 1 million meals to children out of this office in a business center on East Hennepin Avenue and collected $2.4 million in taxpayer money. But federal investigators believe her meal site, Northside Wellness, was fake and that she only spent less than $2,000 on food. According to the criminal complaint, Dar's case included all the telltale signs of the sprawling fraud. She wrote checks to Hadith Ahmed, a Feeding Our Future employee who's already pleaded guilty and says checks like those were bribes. There are emails Dar sent to Amy Bach, the former executive director of Feeding Our Future, convicted by a jury this year, including meal count sheets the FBI says are fake. In those meal counts, the complaint says that by April 2021, Dar claimed to be serving about 40,000 meals to children every week. After Bach was convicted, it was unclear whether the feds intended to charge any additional suspects in the case. But late last week, the FBI raided a St. Paul nonprofit, New Vision Foundation, signaling they weren't finished. As news of that raid spread, prosecutors say Dar booked a flight to Dubai, set to leave 3 days later. The FBI arrested her at the airport before she could board. In court, the prosecutor said they informed Dar in April that she was one of the new targets of their investigation. They told the judge they believe she tried to escape, thinking charges are coming soon.
Now in court, Dar's lawyer said that she was just traveling to visit her sick mother. But then she got caught in a lie, claiming that she hadn't traveled overseas since 2022. The prosecutors then pulled out her passport right in the courtroom and showed that she had been traveling regularly since then to several countries. She
She is now in the Sherburne County Jail. Julie.
How many illegal immigrants being deported by the new administration would you find objectionable? Mr. Melnick, I'll ask you, 1 million?
I think 1 million would be a disaster.
2 million?
Again, considering we're talking about law-abiding people who've been here for decades, I think that is enough that would have severe negative ramifications for the United States.
I'm not reading what Trump intends to do. I'm reading exactly what President Barack Obama did when he came into office and deported nearly 5 million people. So you said President Obama was immoral and inappropriate to deport those million people. Is that what I heard you say?
There were many people that were deported
it's a yes, no question. I would really appreciate it to say, if you would go out on social media and say that the President Obama did a horrible disservice to those people he deported, and he's as wrong-minded as every other Republican who said we've got to secure the border, deport people. Because you can't have one being okay and the other one not being okay.
Oh!